In the dead of night, a signal breaks the silence. A voice, monotone and distant, reads a sequence of numbers into the void. For decades, these transmissions, known as number stations, have haunted the shortwave radio bands. They are broadcasts with no stated origin and no intended audience, yet they persist. What were they for, and more importantly, who was listening? Shortwave radio, unlike AM or FM, can travel immense distances, bouncing off the ionosphere to cross continents and oceans. This made it the perfect medium for clandestine communication during the ideological battle of the 20th century. In a world divided by an iron curtain, secrecy was paramount. Messages had to be sent that could be heard by an agent deep in hostile territory but remain unbreakable to the most sophisticated codebreakers. The structure of these broadcasts was often unnervingly consistent. They would begin with an identifier, perhaps a few notes of music or a simple tone. Then, a voice, sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes even a child's, would read groups of numbers 5-4-7-2-19-0-3-8-6. The sequence would continue for several minutes, then abruptly stop, leaving only static in its wake. There was no context, no explanation, just the raw data. The key to this entire system, reports indicate, was a cryptographic tool known as the one-time pad. This is a list of random pre-shared keys used to encrypt a message. The sender uses the key to encode the plaintext, and the recipient, possessing the only other copy of that pad, uses it to decode the numbers back into a message. When used correctly, a one-time pad is mathematically unbreakable. The pad is used only once and then destroyed. This ensured that even if a transmission was intercepted, without the corresponding pad, the numbers were just meaningless noise. So, who was sending these messages? The most widely accepted theory is that they were used for espionage. Intelligence agencies like the CIA and KGB could have used number stations to communicate with deep cover agents abroad. The agent, equipped with a simple shortwave receiver and their one-time pad, could receive instructions without ever needing to make risky physical contact. This method was anonymous and difficult to trace back to its source. However, very few spies have ever been publicly tried and convicted with evidence directly linking them to a specific number station broadcast. Another compelling theory points to military communications. During times of high tension, nations might use these stations to send orders to covert military units, submarines, or special forces operating behind enemy lines. The deniability of the broadcasts would be a strategic advantage, allowing for secret commands that could never be officially confirmed. Yet, one would expect such critical military traffic to have more robust backup systems, which are rarely discussed in connection with these public broadcasts. A more unsettling possibility is psychological operations, or psyops. Some theories propose that these broadcasts were never meant to be decoded. Instead, their purpose was to create confusion, paranoia, and unease among enemy surveillance agencies. By broadcasting endless streams of meaningless numbers, a nation could force its adversaries to expend vast resources trying to decrypt the indecipherable, a clever way to tie up enemy intelligence assets. The counterargument is that the sheer cost and effort of maintaining a global network of transmitters for decades seems disproportionate for a simple distraction. Of course, the criminal underworld could also be a player. Organized crime syndicates or drug cartels could use the same methods to coordinate international operations, from smuggling routes to financial transactions. The anonymity of shortwave radio is just as useful for a criminal as it is for a spy. However, the global scale and long-term consistency of many famous stations seem to suggest a level of organization and funding more typical of a state actor. Today, with the rise of the internet and satellite communications, many number stations have fallen silent, but not all of them. Some continue to broadcast their cryptic litanies into the digital age. We are left with a mystery etched in radio waves. The one-time pads that held the keys to these secrets are likely long gone, turned to ash or dissolved in acid. The agents who listened, the soldiers who awaited orders, the analysts who strained to understand most have taken their knowledge to the grave. We can analyze the static, we can log the frequencies, and we can theorize about the purpose. But the true meaning of the numbers, and the identities of those who waited by their radios, may forever remain lost in the noise. The voices are gone, but the signals echo. Thank you for exploring this mystery with us. If you found this journey into the shadows of history intriguing, consider subscribing for more stories from the forgotten corners of our world.